Hi everyone, welcome to THT, and today we have our second episode of Legend of the Force spoiler analysis, and there's gonna be a lot of spicy ones in this video, so we're going to it as soon as I give a shout out to our sponsor, which is Card Market, the best marketplace to buy and sell cards in Europe. So we're moving on. Of course, the ranking is always the same: not excited, not sure, good, and amazing. As usual, those ratings are kind of first impression. I haven't played with any of those cards, so obviously take everything I say with a grain of salt, and always keep in mind that the power of a card is related to the context in which it involves in, and therefore, since we are hoping that the context in which those cards are going to involve in is going to be quite different from the one we have now. Obviously, everything can change, but I'll try my best to give as accurate as possible to kind of like first impression and what we can think and make of those cards for now. First of all, we got Darth Tyrannus, and Darth Tyrannus is a very interesting card. You get a 4/3 for 4 ambush shielded if you have the Force, which is very, very good. If you compare this to other 4 resources ambush unit like 4 LOM or modded cohort, this card basically will ambush, kill something, and then basically leave behind a 4/3 without the shield, which I think is very good. So that's pretty nice. It's not like a million times better than a 4 LOM, but it is significantly better. And it's also a force unit, which means that it will enable any force synergy. It's also a Thess, so you can put like a lightsaber on it. 4/3 4/4, even without the ambush, is kind of okay. And you can just like it. I don't think it's good enough to make it to a Gar Saxon deck, because Gar Saxon has access to I forgot her name, to Aiden, and Aiden is obviously, she's already 4/3 4/4 shielded base, and then she can turn into an upgrade. The fact that you can get ambush if you get the Force only matters if you actually play the 20 HP base. That gives you the 4th whenever you attack with a Force unit. At least right now, that's the only reliable way we have to get the Force. So another way we can consider playing this card is obviously in a Doku deck, because you can give Darth Tyrannus a discount in playing it on turn 2 or even on turn 1 if you play it with a Porg. You can just Porg and then exploit it on turn 1 to play it. But obviously the fact that it's 4 and not 5 can be a little bit awkward with exploit, because exploit, you're looking to exploit a 5 on turn 2. So basically my opinion about him is that I think he's quite good, but I don't know exactly if he's going to see play or not. It's going to come down a lot to the context, and if you definitely have to be playing either a Doku deck or a Force focus deck to be running him, and I don't know how viable that is, because there's some significant sacrifices that comes with playing the 20 HP base and having all those Force synergies, so it's hard to tell whether it's going to be worth it or not. So on this one, I'm going to give it a maybe. The problem is, like as I said, the card is not bad, but it definitely requires a lot of effort in order to be like good, and when it's good, it's like good but not amazing. So once again, it's definitely playable, but hard to say whether it's going to see play or not competitively. Moving on, we got Watto. So Watto is a very interesting card, with a very interesting stat line, but the problem is, like, I think this card is just way too slow. The problem is you paying 3 for a unit with no immediate impact on the game that only is going to start becoming a problem if you start being able to trigger his ability over and over again, and that might take just a very long time to do that. Also, the fact that your opponent gets to choose which bonus you get between the experience and the card draw is very annoying, because there are certain matchup, notably the aggro matchup, where they don't really care much about you drawing cards, and then going to be the control matchup, where you're always going to get the experience, because your opponent doesn't really care about you getting experience, because you can just very easily kill the unit no matter how big it is, just using a standard removal. So I'm just afraid that this card is just way too slow, no immediate impact on the game, and it's going to have the worst ability for the opponent to deal with for you, and that's going to be a problem. So I think this card is just way too slow. I don't think it's very good. Moving on, we got Luthen Rael, And this guy is interesting, like it's constant card advantage with, but the thing is like it can only grab item upgrades. So that's like a very, very specific type of card that it can fetch. So in order to make this guy consistently draw you a card, you need to have a very, really consistent amount of item upgrades in your deck, which is very, very annoying, because it turns out that, for example, if you think about a card like a Momothma from set 1, in order to make her draw a card with for Momothma consistently, you need to have a significant amount of rebel units in your deck. So these units and rebel units, there are plenty of in the game. But still going to require a significant amount of deck building constraint in order to make her work. While Luthor Rael is the deck building constraint is even bigger, because the amount of item we're going to need to be able to play to be able to make him work is going to be very, very high. And not only that, of course, we're talking about a 4-drop that has no immediate impact on the board. Something limited to a Quinland, but Quinland has the advantage of having plenty of very, very good traits, like being both a rebel, a force, and also but he's a Spectre, sorry. So that's really what carries Quinland to see a lot more play. So yeah, I don't think this is very good. I don't think it's going to make the cut in Constructed. I think the type of card that did card search is too specific, and is also too slow, generally speaking. Moving on, we got the Tithe, which is a card that I'm sure a lot of Grand Inquisitor players were very excited to see. It is a card that's obviously been designed to work with Grand Inquisitor, as it comes under 3/5s. You can use Grand Inquisitor to ready the units, be able to use the on-attack ability multiple times a turn. And that's very exciting on paper. The problem is, like, this kind of card only really works on paper, because it does require just too much things to go right for you to be able to use this. You need to have another Inquisitor into play that is ready so it can benefit from the +2 attack bonus. You need to have the ability available to be able to ready, and then to be able to attack after that, which is obviously far from easy. Also, of course, in a world where Attack in Town see a significant amount of play, Grand Inquisitor is basically just unplayable, so all those things take into account. And honestly, even if Grand Inquisitor was ever going to see play, I don't think it would play something like this. It's just way too slow, generally speaking. So yeah, it's not very good, it's just too slow. I don't think it's ever going to see play. Moving on now to our first leader. This is the third sister, and she is really interesting. So first of all, she has the ability to give hidden to any unit. So you play a card, any unit gets hidden, and that can be very useful against certain type of decks. So I don't think this is very useful against aggro, generally speaking, because aggro tend to ignore attacking your units. So then that's not really so useful. It's not very useful either against control, because control tend to not kill your unit with its own unit, but it can be really good against mid-range, notably against mid-range that play a lot of ambush units. So this allows you to play a unit and know it's not going to get ambushed this turn, which is very nice. This also makes it so you can actually... So I think the best application for this card is often with upgrades. So if you're playing against, once again, an ambush-based deck, you can kind of like play unit knowing it cannot be ambushed and is relatively unlikely to get killed, and this gives you room to then put the upgrades on it, and once the unit is upgraded with a lightsaber or something, which would also work very well on the third sister herself, that is something that I think is very, very good. So I found this to be this is an ability that I think is going to be very situational and very dependent on the meta, but if it does work, it can be nice. One I'm more excited about for this leader is the leader deploy. I think she has a really, really good leader deploy against a wide variety of different decks. She comes out on 5, which we know is pretty nice, and she has this infamous 5/4 stat line, which is so incredibly easy to deal with in most of the time. But here, because she cannot be attacked when she gets deployed, there's a whole bunch of decks that simply just cannot interact with third sister as she comes out, because once again, they're mostly relying on units or on ambush units to be able to deal with leaders, So they don't have many other ways to kill her. So there's just a certain amount of decks that simply just can't really deal with her. And then as she comes out, she obviously you can play barrage on the same turn as she deploys, and she's gonna have a barrage on 7. So she's one of the best barrage leader in the game, in my opinion. Even better than Kira in a sense, because she has +1 attack and she is hidden once again, so harder to interact. So I find her to be quite interesting with barrage. Is it gonna be enough to carry her? That remains to be seen. So for now, I'm gonna give this leader a maybe, because I think she's very meta dependent. She's gonna for this to really work. I think her ability, we need more cards that really synergize with her ability. We need and then we need to kind of be in a meta where you be like in a mid-range meta with a lot of ambush units, which is far from guaranteed. So it's gonna be a maybe. I don't think she's unplayable. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, she is 4th and Imperials and Inquisitor, which has both relevant traits, especially the Imperial and Force traits. So that's another cool thing that she has going for her. Moving on now to Captain Enoch. So Captain Enoch is very interesting because he's one of the few cards in the game currently that interacts with the discard pile. And what is interesting is that he's the first unit in the entire game that interacts with not the quality of the discard pile, but the quantity. It's really a unit that really gets bigger as you get more card in your discard. And that's very interesting. We know that in Magic, for example, strategies that relies on milling yourself, so basically voluntarily milling yourself by putting cards from your top of your deck to your discard pile, voluntarily. We know that this type of strategies are extremely powerful in Magic the Gathering, and with given proper support, we could see this also being very strong in Star Wars Unlimited as well. And Captain Enoch, of course, can scale very, very hard whenever you get a lot of troopers in this card. Let's say you want to mill your deck, you mill your deck 20, and you got like all of your units are troopers. You can very easily see your Enoch becoming like a 5/5, a 6/5, or a 7/5, and that can be really, really scary. Not only that, it's a 3-cost villain unit, which means that if you play a Vader, you can actually get the Captain Enoch from Vader and pull out a very, very large unit from that. So we could imagine some sort of like self-mill deck that would try to kind of, you discard your own card or you are milling your own card, and then you can play like a Palpatine's Returns, gets the Vader, and then the Vader can pull a Captain Enoch, and that Captain Enoch can be really, really large. So this is something that in theory looks really, really good, but obviously right now there's not enough support for the strategy to work. There simply just isn't enough. There's simply just not enough. There's just not enough self-mill for this to work by any mean, and that's something that I think is going to be a blocker for this card, at least for now. So for now, I'm going to give this card a maybe. She does something very unique, so you can't say it's trash, but it's definitely a combo card. It's a card that you have to heavily synergize around it for this to work. But definitely something to be excited about, and I hope that there's going to be some sort of discard focus archetypes in Legend of the Force. I think that would be great. Next we got Plo Koon. So Plo Koon is a 6-drop with no immediate impact on the game, and basically the bonus he gets whenever you have the 4th is that he gets grit, which is pretty underwhelming. So not much to say about Plo Koon. He's just, yes, he has a lot of stats, but having a lot of stats when you cost 6 doesn't really matter so much, because against any aggressive deck, this card is way too slow, and against any control deck, he has no difficulty whatsoever to kill it. So I just don't think this card is very good. Thankfully, you can play it in a Hantu, and Hantu will make this 8/6 for 5, which is a lot more attractive. But once again, you need to have the 4th for this to get grit, which is not going to be easy, and you're going to have once again to play the 20 HP base to get the 4th to all this to work. So it's a lot of work just to have a unit that is kind of decent. So I don't think this is playable at all. I don't think it's good. Little break in this video just to tell you that currently you can pick up a showcase version of Quinland for 158 euros, one of the most popular leader in the set, and a leader that I anticipate is going to be super popular in Legion of the Force as well. So Then we got Owen Lars. Owen Lars is interesting. He's kind of like a version of Moisture Farmer that actually draws you a card whenever he's defeated, which I think is very, very nice. So Moisture Farmer is basically a 0-5 restore 2 for 1. Owen Lars is a 0-3 restore 2 for 1. So the 2 extra health, it does make a difference, right? Owen Lars is a lot easier to deal with, but whenever he gets defeated, you do get to look at the top 5 for a force unit and then draw it, which is a very significant bonus. So just like for Mon Mothma we were saying earlier, you need to have a significant amount of a force unit for this ability to be reliable. But if you can make this ability reliable, then I think this is a very strong ability, because it means that this card becomes quite good against both aggro and control, because if you're playing against aggro, you're basically deflecting an attack for your opponent to deal with it. If he doesn't deal with it, then you're going to be restoring every turn, and then whenever he gets dealt with, you do get a card back, which I think is very nice. And against control, it's a perfect way to play around Power of the Dark Side, to have this cheap unit that you can sacrifice on Power of the Dark Side, and then you're going to get yourself a 4th unit in exchange, which I think is great. So I think it's a card that has the advantage of being able to be good against a wide variety of decks, and it has, of course, certain synergies. You can boost it with Rey. Rey can basically just boost Owen Lars and making like a 1/4. I think it's very nice. So I think in a force focus blue deck, this is a good addition. So I'm gonna give this a thumbs up. Moving on, we got As I Have Foreseen, and this card is very interesting. It is kind of similar to You're My Only Hope. So You're My Only Hope, you basically spend 3 to get a discount on 5. So you get a discount on 2. This card gives you a discount of 3. And does kind of the same thing when you look at the top card of your deck. It doesn't have the special ability that you get to get to play the card for free if you have 5 HP, but this ability is honestly extremely situational anyways, so that really is not very relevant. I Have Foreseen, though, does require you to use the force to be used, so that's very significant. So first of all, what kind of deck would want to play this card? First of all, it needs to be a deck that can consistently look at the top of your deck, or some sort of top decks manipulation, in order to be able to use that and be guaranteed to be able to pull something good. Right now, the only leaders that can do that on the villainy side is Thrawn, the old Thrawn from set 1, that can always see the card from the top of the deck, and then whenever there's something that you want to play, this card can give discount on any card in the game. So it's obviously very easy to use. Anytime you see something that costs 4, that costs 4 or more, you can play this card and get a massive discount on it, and that's very nice. And you're not even doing cards advantage, because all you need is this card. Unlike like a sneak attack, you don't even need to. You don't need the 2 cards. You just need that card by itself, which is very nice. So I think this card is quite good. But the big question mark behind this card is, how often are you going to be able to get the force? Obviously, this is a card that you want to play earlier in the game, because if you manage to cheat something in play for a big discount, this is very, very, the earlier you play, the more impactful it's going to be. So obviously, you need to be playing a deck that can get the fault very early on, and I don't know if that's really possible. So we're going to see how it works out. Obviously, it's going to be playing in a Thrawn deck if it's get played, unless there are other synergies in the set to go alongside this card. But basically, as I'm standing, it's going to be a maybe, of course. It's a very synergy-focused card, so it's very hard to say in advance whether it's going to see play or not. It's going to depend on a lot of factors. So how early can you get the force, and also can you make this work in a Thrawn deck, and can it be worth running? Moving on, we got another new leader. It is the new ObiWan Kenobi. And once again, it seems that we are following the tradition of Fantasy Flight games to make very bad hero command leaders. This leader, unfortunately, in my opinion, sucks, and I'll tell you why. So basically, the problem is that, first of all, it's relatively similar to Tarkin in a sense that he can give experience token when he's on his leader side and he deploys on 5. Instead of being a 2/7, he's a 3/6, and then on attack he gives more experience token. Okay, so far nothing particularly bad, but the problem is that the condition in order to be able to use his bonus is very steep, because you need to use the force. You don't even need to have the force, you need to use the force to be able to give experience token. So yes, you're giving them out for free, but using the force, in my opinion, is worth more than one resource. And the reason why is because you need to, once again, there's a huge deck building constraint, because you need to put a bunch of force units in your deck. You need to be running a 28 HP base, and you also need to be attacking with the force unit to be able to get that. So you're not going to be able to use this every turn. In my opinion, even if you'll be lucky to be able to use this every other turn. And then it comes out with 3/6, which is a relatively weak stat line. Whenever you deploy on 5, you're looking for a leader that has a 4/6 or something that's a 3/7. And yeah, there's just nothing going on with this leader that is particularly impressive. His leader's ability, I think, is very weak and very difficult to use. The deck building constraints in order to use this leader is really, really steep. And yeah, there's just it's just simply just not a good leader in my opinion, and I don't see any reason why you would want to play him over other options. So once again, command heroism is not going to get a good leader, unfortunately. Next, we got the new Grogu, which is the first legendary that we've seen. This is probably the prestige version of the card, I would assume. And this Grogu is very interesting. So it comes out as a sort of like a unit that heals and deals damage to other units, which is quite situational because you need to have a damage unit in play. So this is kind of like a bit situational. It also comes out on 3 as pretty weak stats for something that comes out on 3. And once again, if you can't really use the ability, then it's a very, very low impact play. So in a vacuum, the card is really bad. However, this card becomes really, really powerful if you run it in an Han-2 deck, because obviously whenever you run Han-2, you get to damage units to make them cheaper, which means that you're going to have damage unit on a regular basis. And the fact that you can play Grogu on turn 1 in combination with Han-2 ECL, it comes out as a 1/4 that cannot be attacked because he's hidden, and then as you get ready the guy, you can actually heal him up and deal damage. He can heal himself, that the ability work on himself, and then you can use the ability over and over again, because you're going to have damage unit over and over again, and the benefit of healing your units and dealing damage to other units can be very beneficial. So if you're running a Han-2 deck that is like kind of a mid-rangey, I think this is a very good option. It also gives you like a force unit right away from turn 1 that is going to be very difficult to kill. So if you are playing for a 4th deck, this could be also really beneficial. So I think this is like a very good card in Han-2, and it's going to be played in every single Han-2 deck that is a bit kind of more on the control or mid-range side. If you're playing a very aggro version of it, then maybe not, but if you're playing a more mid-range or control version of Han-2, then this card becomes really, really amazing. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up. It's quite specialized, so I can't give it a better rating than this, but I think it's quite good in this context. And then last but not least, we got ourselves the Qui Gon Jin, the legendary unit. And this guy is absolutely insane. So what can we say about it? In my opinion, it is the best 7-drop ambush in the game. We have a whole slew of 7-cost ambush Jedi in that we have with Vader, Darth Maul. We have the classic Han Solo. Where we got like so many 7-drop ambush. We also have the Mace Windu, and I think Qui Gon Jin is the best of them, which is pretty significant because there's once again a lot of them. Someone could even argue it's the best 7-drop in the game, over even the classic Luke Skywalker. And honestly, there's a strong argument to be made that this is the best 7-drop in the entire game. So why is this guy so good? Well, this guy is kind of similar to a Wrecker that doesn't need ECR. So of course he costs 1 more. It doesn't have Overwhelm, and he's a 7/5 instead of being a 7/6. But on the other hand, he doesn't require the use of ECR. He just has ambush by himself. He has is Force and Jedi Republic, which are three relevant traits. His when defeated effect does not require his when defeated effect doesn't require you to remove a card to destroy your own resource, and it can kill things of any size, which is really nice. So basically the idea of this unit is like, first of all, the stat line is a 7/5. That means it can snipe pretty much every single leader in the game. Most of the leaders in the game have 7 health. So 7 is a very important breakpoint to reach in Star Wars Unlimited in order to be one-shot a leader. So this guy basically one-shot almost every single leader in the game, which is insane. The other thing, of course, is that he has this 5 health, which is actually a very nice 5 health is really good, because there's actually very few units in the game that have more than 5 attack. Like, most units have 4 attacks and maximum. Most leaders in the games have 4 attacks or 3 or 4 attacks. That means that Qui Gon Jin will be able to snipe those leaders and stay alive as a result. And even if he does get defeated, you get something very significant out of it, as you get to basically get rid of a non-leader ground units, which I think is really a very powerful effect. It's better than bouncing because it doesn't go back in your opponent's hands. It's a little bit worse than defeating because the unit can put it back on top if it's a very good unit. And if it's a very bad unit, it can be put at the bottom. So it's worse than defeating, but not by a lot. It's really very similar to defeating unit. So it's obviously very strong. That means that this unit is incredibly flexible. Let's say there's a Krayt Dragon in play, you can literally just ambush Qui Gon Jin into the Krayt Dragon, and then use the when defeated effect to put the Krayt Dragon back on top of the deck. So it's like, it is really powerful. Like, and obviously the potential of being able to kill something and then at the same time defeat another card at the same time is just extremely significant. So Qui Gon Jin, I think, is very powerful. And he's going to be a near auto inclusion in almost every single cunning yellow deck. At least every cunning yellow mid-range and control. There's not really any cunning hero is not really a color for control, but any like tempo aggro deck is going to be running this card. It's an absolute amazing fit. Is in some of the 2 best leaders in the game, which are Han and Quinland, which is a little bit scary because once again we're giving a huge power boost to 2 decks that are already very powerful. But yeah, Han Solo loves this because obviously you can double ramp into 7s to get out of Qui Gon Jin, and Quinlan loves it because he's a Force unit that can come out, trigger the when play ability. Sorry, trigger the Quinlan ability to deal 8 damage to something. There's an argument for Quinlan whether they're going to prefer to play the classic Han Solo this card, but I still think this card is going to be better just because of the when defeated effect is so gross. And he's also 4th mid when you can, that it turns on your 4th throw as well, which is very nice. So, and obviously this card is going to be absolutely amazing in combination with Now There's 2 of them. Basically, yeah, Now There's 2 of them this is the ideal target for Now There's 2 of them. You can deploy your leader on 5 and then play Now There's 2 of them to get Qui Gon Jin out very early on in the game. That is such a huge power swing in your favor. So this card is, no surprise, is gonna get the amazing rating. It is likely to be the most expensive card in the set, and it is both a legendary and also probably one of the most powerful cards in the set. So he's really powerful. I don't think he's overpowered. Some people would argue that he's overpowered. I don't think he's overpowered because I still think that, but he's giving more. So I'm not scared about the raw power of the card itself. However, I'm a little bit scared by the fact that he's going to be boosting decks and archetypes that are already very powerful and very popular. So this is kind of like the thing that I'm a little bit more scared of. Anyway, this is it for this video. I've reviewed every single cards that we've seen so far. Let me know what you think about those different cards, and then we'll see you next time in another video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.